I think that I'll take this opportunity now to tell a bit more about the Equals 11 engagement story with NKF. So we've been working in collaboration since January this year. Uh, I wanted to mention that we started the work with running like health checks, using like leveraging Salesforce Optimizer, thinking about possible enhancements with user experience, maybe even building a fundraising pipeline, like all sorts of enhancements. But then at a moment, we realized that we would provide more value by proposing something to better leverage the great amount of data that we found with NKF. Just to illustrate, just on contact records, we have over 2 million. So there's a bunch there. And at that point, also, we learned from NKF that they were going through this big data governance initiative. So I know, Jacob, you guys had engaged like business subject matter experts, data stewards, and you guys were building like a data dictionary. For us, as a consulting partner, that was super helpful. And I mean, we could have an overall idea of what was there available and what were the missing data points. So that was very helpful documentation at that point. And then, I mean, we understood that we needed to suggest, we need to recommend some solution towards exploring further Salesforce potential from all the data. I mean, there was plenty of data there. And then we kicked off our first project with NKF for implementing Einstein Prediction Builder. So we had all these workshops, and based on the business unit's SMEs feedback, we saw that there was potential for leveraging AI capabilities to learn from all that data, and also to make predictions based on previous behaviors. So, and the main goal there, the main goals, I would say, with Einstein Prediction Builder, I mean, users would benefit by helping team members prioritizing their work. With these predictions, with these predictive insights, we would be able to propose a more assertive outreach to the different NKF audiences. And that, of course, would also drive donations by having a better understanding of the constituents that are being targeted. So we started, guys, by using like industry standard use cases for nonprofit organizations, and then we tailored those towards NKF needs and, I mean, specific business use cases. The one that we started with, the first prediction that we started working on was for obtaining an engagement scoring on a constituent. That's a big one. So that's a big O metric, and that gives us the idea, I mean, the level of interaction and engagement that a constituent has with the organization. We also worked on the likelihood of a donation increase, the likelihood of a donor to become a major donor, the probability, the recurring donation probability, donor retention rate was another one. We also had, we built a prediction for donor churn probability. So what is the likelihood of that donor to lapse? And we also worked on two specific predictions here for professional members. One being the professional membership engagement scoring, and another one touching on their renewal, the membership renewal probability. For each of those predictions, guys, we have gone through a discovery phase. So we have groomed and we've defined all the requirements and started touching on the technical specifications. So on the technical side, we had to define our data source. Most of the cases we're talking here about a contact, a constituent record. We also needed to filter that. So we needed to create what we call the data set segmentation. I mean, to get this specific record set. And then we needed to outline, we needed to come with the fields that would be our predictors. So, for example, we were talking about the engagement scoring. So for obtaining that information, I mean, we need to go back and double check on the donation history of that constituent, the volunteering activity, event attendance, email engagement. So there's a bunch. So all those fields that are tied to all these predictors groups, they are important and they need to be listed as part of the prediction settings. And we also had the great part of the work here was to understand, and we were sitting like right beside NKF business SMEs to define what would be positive examples and negative examples on someone that is like highly engaged versus someone that is not, that engaged. So, and positive examples of someone that is likely to have a donation increase versus someone that would not. So it was about creating these clauses and criteria with the fields, with the data that we had on NKF's organization to create this like positive versus negative examples to level set and to give a means for the for training the AI model, for training the machine learning model. So again, the outcome was that we were able to deliver 9 predictions. We also created one extra, we created one calculated field that is called, and created the concept of a rising star constituent. So this was a very nice one. We wanted to create a card or create some type of tagging, as Jacob was mentioning. The contact page now has all these cards and tags. So we wanted to kind of tag that constituent as a rising star one, meaning this person was recently created, recently engaged with NKF, but has a high engagement score. So that is what the rising star concept is means. So we delivered all those predictions. We delivered this new rising star concept, and this again, guys, this goes towards what we see as best practices for donor management and enhancing donor engagement. Now, so this was the outcome of the first project. The moment that we have that we're going through today with NKF, so we are working towards a second project, which is about creating concrete. So we understood that now that we have all these predictive insights, we have all the information, and as Jacob mentioned, you can promptly see that on the contact page. So it's there as cards, as some tags on the contact record. It's time now for us to create concrete actionable steps for that user to improve on that constituent engagement. So that's the reason now we're going towards implementing Einstein Next Best Action. We are, as I said, we've just started. We are going through a discovery phase, and we've just come up with a set of use cases, and we are starting to detail that. And just to give you a few examples here. So one of the use cases here would be for a healthcare professional that is highly engaged, for example. So you have that constituent record in front of you. It's a healthcare professional, and you have the prediction there on their engagement scoring. But that person is not yet a member. So the next best action could be sending them an invitation to become a member. Another example would be like upon a constituent that you see that has been participating to many events, different events. This person has been volunteering. This person has a good email open rate, but this person has not yet donated. So why not sending them a notification that highlights the impact of NKF and invite them to become a first-time donor? So just to illustrate, guys, we're starting with these use cases based on these predictive insights to indicate, to recommend the business user what would be the best next action. So this is just, long story short, we are working with NKF, in collaboration, deriving this, from all the data that they have, deriving predictive insights, and now recommending next best actions to improve and have a more personalized outreach to constituents and helping their users to know what to do next, given all the data, given those insights. That's the idea.
Thank you, maybe
Jacob, anything to add
any
there?
That was great. That was great. That said it better than I could.
perfect. So, I mean, this is a process in general that we have a lot of learnings, specifically what we're trying to do. So it's not. I want to put it in a different way. It's not something that it will be working the first time. I mean, you might be lucky, but it's an ongoing process, and even when it's working, it's going to continue to develop and improve. So just have that in mind when you're experiencing this. The other thing is that even when you could have experience in the tool, each case might be different. Just because you might be knowledgeable on the tool itself, but it's different each case. So on each of these cases, you will be learning. Correct me if I'm wrong, maybe. But I
Correct.
think in that each scenario will be bring you different challenges. So have that in mind when you're trying to do this, because it's not kind of like a formula where you will put A and you will receive B every time. And depends also on the data, among other things. But I'll stop there to continue with the process. So now we will be talking about. I mean, we already start talking about the real case, but Jacob, perhaps do you want to start with this one?
Yeah. And I think I'll kind of go back to some of the things that we talked about, and even before we got to building out the prediction builder, even just out of our initial discovery engagement, one of the things we noticed, I think about, I'm sitting at my desk right now, and it's got my phone, sticky notes, paper, cup, pens. I mean, all kind of things, right? But you don't notice how messy things get if you've just been staying there all the time, right? And so out of that initial engagement we had with equals 11, one of the things that was brought out that we noticed is like our contact record had just gotten clunky over the years. We had a couple hundred fields. We were using kind of a standard, related details layout that Salesforce uses. And it was like, no big deal. We know where things are, right? And we're not thinking from the perspective of a new hire, somebody who is new to Salesforce. It's like, well, how am I supposed to know that this field is halfway down the page, two scrolls later or whatever? And so one of the things that came out of that is like we went with dynamic forms. We really cleaned everything up. We really thought through the business use case, of like, okay, who needs to see what and where is the best place for that to live? Thinking really logically and thinking like, okay, how can we make every piece of information, maximum of 2 clicks away and no scrolling at all, right? Just like everything right here on front page, clear to see, hide the stuff that doesn't need to be there. Actually using some logic, and as a result of that, kind of back to that continuous improvement, that's where we decided like, wow, there's actually a few of these fields that are, really really important and actually tell the story of these of each contact record. And so, you know, I shouldn't have to even click twice to see if this person's a volunteer. You should just tell me if it's a volunteer, right? You should just tell me if this person's a donor or and just thinking of some of those ways that we label people internally, like this is a professional member, this is a donor, this is a patient, this is a whatever, and surfacing those really like, and we use rich text fields or rich text components on the Lightning page. It was like, because we had already kind of cracked that nut of like, we're making a lot of updates to the Lightning record page. We're making some changes. Well, let's do this while we're here. Immediate, like, people jumping for joy. Like this is clearing, just cutting a lot of work on that end. And then what that did was when we actually went with, when we began that prediction builder engagement, we already had a lot of the key fields in place that actually built the framework for that prediction builder. So we knew, like, hey, a lot of these positive examples, like this person's volunteering, this person attends events, this person reads their email. Like we're already tracking all that. We already know what fields we use that dictate that. And so a lot of that is already there. And I think that it's just that ongoing process of like making the data tell a story, like that narrative that you're looking for. And the deeper you go in, the more you realize like, okay, and now I actually have a lot of power here to make this data talk and make this data work for me instead of me working for the data. And so I think what that's done is it has, like, it's increased our engagement. It's increased our ability to communicate well. If you're having a conversation with somebody, at an event, you could pull up their contact record and without having to do any scrolling, oh, this person donated last year. That's great. Maybe I could talk to them about donating this year. So that's a major key kind of at the individual level. But I think like, you think about a Ferrari, right? Like a Ferrari is got powerful engine. It's fun to drive. It's going to be great. The only reason you actually get behind the wheel is because it looks really, really nice, right? Like it's beautiful and it's noticeable and it's seen. And so, but if it didn't have the under the hood stuff, the power that it has, well, you'd get behind the wheel once and you'd say, I don't want to drive this. Caps out at 60 miles an hour. So both are necessary. So the guts of the work, like what Equals 11 has been doing, where actually leveraging the power of the tool, actually making the data talk, but then also displaying it in a way that's meaningful for people, that's useful for people. Um, and then what that does is, as we're doing that at the individual, we're thinking one contact, one user. We're thinking very small, but all of those fields, all of those predictions are even more valuable, scaled value at the report level, at the dashboard level. And so being able to then segment our donors based on engagement score and interact with them differently, right? And reach out specifically to the group of people who are likely to become recurring donors. That's meaningful now that we can segment those people out and say like, hey, we see that you're ready for this. Here's the opportunity, and hopefully polluting their inbox a little less. I know we all struggle with that. Right? I've deleted probably 100 emails today, and giving them what they actually are, what actually will benefit them, and engaging them